Hey, I'm here today for the first of our videos for our CSA membership. I'm at the Larder in Hingetown with Chef Jeremy Umansky. Super excited to be here. He's going to show us a little bit about how to do something using produce from our CSA selection this week. But I want to introduce Jeremy next to me. And Jeremy, we got 3 rapid fire questions for you to start off with.
Let's do it.
All right, first, what is your favorite color?
It's red.
Oh, okay.
Blood red. I'm an Aries.
Second, death row, last meal, what's on the menu ticket?
You know what? That's a really good question, but it probably have to be some sort of charcuterie board. Some good cured meats and a little bit of cheese out with some variety, you know?
Ooh.
Like a nice little spread.
So you don't get bored.
It's something that takes a long time to eat.
Yeah, you're gonna be up all night. It's gonna be one of the longer nights of your life.
Yeah.
And last thing is favorite slash weirdest slash most interesting place in Cleveland, Ohio. Other than the Larder.
Right, other than the funky things I have in jars. That's a really, really good question. That's a hard one for me. I think just in general, Cleveland's awesome. I mean, I hate to be such a vague...
I think that the dome of Cleveland,
You know
Ohio.
what I'd have to say? You know what? Let's go weird. Lakeview Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's a lot of mushrooms that grow there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's cool to go forage and pick a mushroom in a cemetery.
Yeah.
It is.
Are they growing off of anything in particular? Or?
I mean, who knows?
Very cool. All right, Jeremy, what are you going to show us today?
We've got some beautiful, beautiful garlic scapes from you guys. And this is a thing that a lot of people get. They'll be like, what is this? I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about some fresh uses, but really we're going to show you how to preserve them.
Okay.
So that you can use them the rest of the year.
Awesome. And can you explain what is a garlic scape, Jeremy?
Yeah, so as garlic grows, it grows from, you can take a single clove and plant it, and that'll turn into a bulb.
Okay.
And that's below the ground. And as it grows, it puts out a bunch of leaves that are blade-like, needle-shaped and flat. And then out of the center of those leaves going straight up is this. This is the scape. And if you look at it, you've got the stem, and then coming up here where it's light, this will turn into a garlic flower.
Okay.
And this time of year, you want to cut this off. Because if you don't cut it off, the garlic bulb won't grow so big.
Okay.
It'll put all of its oomph, all of its energy into reproducing and making seeds.
Gotcha.
Whereas we want the bulb to grow. So you cut this off and it's got all this amazing garlic flavor.
Awesome.
But it's a little different.
All right. Well, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I'll hand it over to you, my friend.
Wonderful.
Cool.
All right. So the first thing you want to do with your garlic scapes is definitely smell them. They're going to smell awesome, and they're going to smell a little different than garlic. You're going to get much sweeter tones, and you're going to smell something that's almost green and grassy. So this lends it to being used a bit differently than you would a fresh garlic clove. You can still use it in many of the same ways, or in ways similar to how you'd use a chive, or even a scallion. You can slice it thin, and you can sprinkle it over food to garnish it. You can cut it into chunks, you can saute it. They roast up and grill really nicely. So there are a lot of direct ways that you can use these, and they're just absolutely fantastic. One of our favorite ways, though, is to pickle them. So garlic has a lot of inherent sweetness, and most of us are used to seeing that just in roasted garlic. So taking a green part and being able to bring that out with some other flavors is just fantastic. And I think the simplest way to do that is to ferment them. The great thing about doing this is garlic scapes have such a short season. You're only going to see these for maybe a couple weeks if you're lucky. By fermenting them and preserving them through fermentation, you could break this out in the middle of January and get a taste of summer. So really simply, what you're going to want to do is you're going to kind of want to curl them up and try to get them into a mason jar as well as you can. Might be a little difficult, and don't worry if you bruise them or kind of damage them, that's okay. The great thing about this is too, when you have people over for a dinner party or that sort of thing, and you can have this jar just sitting on a windowsill in your kitchen, it's gonna look beautiful and be something that you can talk about and explain to people how you fermented your own food. So simply put, get them all in there, and you can put a surprising amount of them in a 1-quart mason jar. If you want to make this look ultra pretty, you can go in and curl each one up individually and stack them up in layers, and I've seen that before and it looks really nice, but outside of aesthetics, it doesn't serve a purpose. We also like to give a nice little flavor to this by adding some fresh dill. And just as with the garlic scapes, you're just going to take it and just pack it in here. From here, if you wanted to use a different herb like parsley, you could. If you wanted to use some pickling spice or a little bit of curry powder, whatever floats your boat, whatever you think will go good with garlic, go ahead and use it. The next thing you're going to need though is a kitchen scale. And if you don't have one, go to like a local store or go to some place like TJ Maxx or Target or somewhere, pick one up. You can find one for $15. It's a worthy investment. I've already tared out the weight of this jar. And what we're gonna do is we're going to figure out the weight of the ingredients in the jar, including water that we're gonna add. And you can see I'm adding water right up to the top so it's covering everything. We've got our weight. I'm gonna pull out my trusty computer in my pocket here. And we're gonna figure out 3% of the total weight of this. So I'm gonna use grams because it's easier to do the math. I have 1,310 grams. If I multiply that by 3%, I get just under 40 grams. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take salt. And for something like this, we like to use a fine granulated salt. You can get table salt, but if you find one without added iodine, that's even better. And we're gonna add the salt until the scale registers 40 grams. Almost there. From here, we're just gonna put a lid on the jar, shake it up to help dissolve some of that salt, and voila. You're gonna let this sit on your kitchen counter for about 7 to 10 days. Now, one thing that you're gonna look at, you're gonna say, oh, I've seen these special fermentation lids that have an airlock on them that let the gases escape. Well, a mason jar lid is designed to do that. So when you turn it on here, if you just turn it finger tight, the lid is on secure enough to keep things like dust and pet hair out of it. And it's also on there loose enough that it'll let carbon dioxide gas that's expected to come out of this escape without this thing bubbling up and fizzing all over. And eventually what you're gonna have is a jar like this. And you're gonna have beautiful garlic scapes. You notice they went through a color change. They're gonna be much sweeter, freeze up a lot of the sugars in them, still have great garlic flavor. You can use this in relishes, you can eat it as a pickle. We like to chop some up, any recipe that calls for a caper or an olive or that sort of thing. Go ahead, chop these up and use them in the stead. You'll have this awesome, wonderful surprise, and you'll be using a food that's locally grown. You can also use the brine that's in here to like pickle a piece of fish or marinate a pork chop and give it just this wonderful sweet garlic flavor before you cook it. Enjoy your garlic scapes.